time for your weekly dose of nostalgia with the 80s and 90s Uncensored. I am Milo Dennison.
And I'm Jamie Fenderson. And today we're going to talk about the Pope of Pop Cinema, the Sultan of Schlock, the King of Cult himself, Roger Corman.
Nice. I like that intro. That's good.
Well, I really love Roger Corman. We lost him last month, so this is our tribute episode to Roger. We both, I'm sure I speak for you too. We both love Roger Corman, and you know quite a bit about him because I saw your video on YouTube, your tribute video on Portraits of History channel, Milo's new channel. And if you go to the 80s and 90s.com, it'll be featured there. Just a little plug. Just a little plug.
Jamie. Nice plug. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's right. I did a biography of Roger Corman. He is amazing, or was amazing, but I'm still going with is amazing. Like, the guy did so stinking much throughout his life. I mean, I know a lot of his executive producer credits are really just putting his name on something, but disregarding that, like the films that he made and the impact that he had on cinema is unbelievable. I mean, without him, we might not have Jack Nicholson, or we might not have any
Sylvester
number of
Stallone, Robert De Niro, Diane Ladd, Sandra Bullock,
Martin Scorsese, Jonathan Demme, Rod Howard, Francis Ford Coppola. So Rod Howard, one of his first directing films was a Roger Corman film that he directed and starred in.
Yeah, and they went on to make huge. James Cameron was like a set dresser or something on Roger's really like super low budget movies. And then James Cameron goes on to make the most expensive movies ever made.
Yeah, really. He's like, forget that Corman method. I'm going to do my own, which is the complete opposite.
But a lot of people got their start with him.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson, so The Little Shop of Horrors in 1960, he made that in 2 days. I think it's again like a world record for like the shortest shoot of a film. They shot that in 2 days, and I think that was Jack Nicholson's like first movie role.
Yeah,
or among the first.
Among the first, yeah. He did a lot of stuff, and his performance in there's fun to watch too. He's basically the guy that goes into the dentist and likes the pain from it. And it's just kind of a fun performance. So you're right. Yeah, that was made in a very short period of time. Classic B movie that they remade in the 80s. They did a stage musical about it. So just off of a film that was basically like, hey, this set's available. Can I use it? And they're like, yeah, sure, I guess. And he's like, sweet, let's quickly throw together a film.
We only have 2 days, and okay, let's do it. I'm Roger Corman.
I could do that, no problem. Hey, Jack, you available for a day? Sure, no problem.
So the running gag in Hollywood, I guess there's this running gag that Roger Corman could negotiate the production of a film on a payphone, shoot the film in that payphone booth, and finance it with the money in the chain slot.
That's awesome. I haven't heard that, but I like it.
Not far from the truth, right?
Not at all.
Cheap and fast.
No, but they're so good. And I think that's one of the reasons why his films are so great, because they all made money. He only really had one film that didn't make money during his career, which was The Intruder, that he made in 1962. And that actually starred William Shatner, who was basically an unknown actor at that time. And it was a film about kind of racism in the South. And it was his film like that had a legit message about racism. And it just didn't get picked up. It didn't get the code of ethics rating that they needed at the time. The, what's it called? The production code seal.
MPAA, whatever seal that you see at the end of the credits.
Yeah. They needed that at the time. So a lot of theaters didn't show it. A lot of theaters in the South didn't show it. So it didn't get seen by a lot of people at the time, but it has since been re-released and DVD'd and stuff. So it eventually did make money. But and with that film, it's fun too, because he would do things. He didn't let the local populace, because it was filmed in the South in the 60s. And he didn't let the local populace read the whole script, or some of them saw like a watered down version of it, so that they wouldn't get all pissy about it. But he still got death threats and stuff about that film.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. So he received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on June 12th, 1991. So obviously he's big enough to have his Hollywood Walk of Fame star.
Yeah. Honorary Oscar. Sad that he never won a one straight up. David L. Selznick Award, Producers Guild. Like he's got a ton of awards.
Well, his
Um,
stuff like isn't Oscar worthy because it's schlock, but he got an honorary Oscar for just being the king of schlock, right? Just being so awesomely B movie bad that he got a Oscar just for being that.
yeah.
That's cool, right?
It's well deserved. Absolutely. Should we back up a little bit and get into his early life some?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's born April 5th, 1926 in Detroit. However, his parents moved the family to Los Angeles along with his brother Gene, who would also become a film producer. He attended Stanford University intending to become an engineer, which is what his father did. And I love this. So he completed school. He actually spent a few years in the Navy during World War One, or World War Two, I mean. Returned, finished his degree, got his degree as an engineer, did it for less than a week, like started on a Monday and quit on a Thursday and was like, well, this was a bad idea. I'm going to go make movies.
Screw this. This is boring. I'm gonna go
This
make movies.
sucks.
Sounds like Milo.
Yeah, totally. Sounds like you too.
Yeah. Work sucks. I'm gonna go podcast.
Wait a minute. I don't like this at all. Yeah. So he took odd jobs. He eventually got a job at 20th Century Fox as a messenger in the mailroom. So I love this. Literally worked his way up from the mailroom to producing films to owning his own studio. He worked on a film starring Gregory Peck called The Gunfighter, gave him feedback and they didn't give him credit for it. So he's like, well, screw you guys. If I'm going to do work and not get credit for it, I'm out of here. And then he wrote a script that he sold called Hollywood Dragnet, used the money from that to make his first film, which was Monsters of the Ocean Floor in 1954, which I think the name describes it right there, like
You
what
know what
that's
he's
about.
gonna his career. You know what his career is gonna be with his first movie title. You know what
Yeah.
it's gonna be all about.
Yep.
You know, you know, you know it's gonna be all about that action.
So yeah, Monsters from the Ocean Floor. He did a film called The Fast and the Furious that'll come in play later in his life, and just started making typical Roger Corman films, like low budget, quickly made, Attack of the Crab Monsters.
Yeah, and so there's really three kind of main things he does. So he does the kind of the well, maybe four. He does horror movies. So we even on our the 80s and 90s overlooked YouTube channel, like we reviewed the Slumber Party Massacre, and he made two sequels to that. So he does a lot of quick and dirty horror. He does sci-fi. So I think some of my favorites are his sci-fi kind of his Star Wars clones, like Battle Beyond the Stars and stuff
Forbidden
like
World.
yeah, Forbidden World and Galaxy of Terror and
Yeah, also a good one.
those early 80s kind of sci-fi horror ones were a lot of fun. So he does a sci-fi, he does horror, and then he does sword and sorcery. So like Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, that's so bad. It's beautifully bad. And they made a sequel that was even worse. And then he does stuff like funny what the kind of those
Post-apocalyptic type
con
stuff.
yeah, but he also does those comedies, raunchy comedies like Screwballs and stuff like
Oh yeah.
that. So he has a lot of those. He was an uncredited producer for Chopping Mall, which I loved. It's just all this beautiful schlock, man, everywhere.
Yeah.
Just something that he has a whole list of movies for decades, and throughout the 80s and 90s, which is what we know him for.
Yeah.
We know him for for stuff like you know, Flesh Gordon.
So such great named
What
too.
I'm looking. I love this. Let me make sure I get this name right.
All right.
Flesh Gordon meets the Cosmic Cheerleaders.
Yeah.
So again,
Classic.
he was like a distribution producer for that. So a lot of this is uncredited producer kind of work, but he produces a lot, just all these crazy stuff. And I even looked, I didn't know even after the 80s and 90s, he was still
Oh
producing
yeah. Till the end, man.
Death Race and all this other stuff. I guess he was the executive producer. His last one here is called The Jungle Demon, and that was in 2021. So he's like executive producing things like
Yeah.
just Sharktopus versus Werewolf.
Which is a series. There's also Sharktopus versus Pedecura, Ptera, Pitacuda, whatever.
I think that P is silent, bro. I think
You think
it's
so? I think it's just
Sharktopus
Cuda,
versus Terracuda.
Terracuda. That sounds
Like
believable.
pterodactyl, but instead of a pterodactyl, it's like between a pterodactyl and a barracuda. That's a terracuda.
Makes sense. Yep. Attack to the 50-foot cheerleader that he did in 2012.
I mean, that's if you got Sharktopus and you got you got half your stuff is cheerleaders.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
So,
That's why I love and all these crazy barbarian movies and sword and sorcery kind of movies, and it's just all this trash. But why I love it is he has a whole catalog of films he produced that are just so much fun, and it's
yeah.
just stuff that you can just Friday night. I want to watch some schlock and get my pizza and watch schlock, and that's it. You can spend a whole weekend just watching his stuff, his trash, and just it's trash. It's beautiful trash.
That's exactly it. Beautiful trash. And then the thing is, like, even before I really knew who Roger Corman was, I loved his films. Like, even like
Uh-huh.
as a kid, you'd be sitting there and you'd find something, you'd be like, oh, this is great. It's terrible, but great. And then later on, you learn who Roger Corman was and some of his other stuff, and you're like, oh, he made that. That makes sense. Now I know why I like it. Because you could tell a Roger Corman. I can't think of what I was watching the other day, some other trashy B movie that wasn't a Corman film. And you could somehow see the difference. There's a certain level of like campiness and funness to a Corman film to where like his imitators are just trying too hard to copy a Corman film and trying too hard
Yeah.
to be a B film and be campy. To whereas Corman is just like, I'm not trying to make brilliant cinema here. I'm trying to make a film really fast, really cheaply, using materials I already have so that I can make a profit. And it's fantastic because he doesn't try to be anything he's not, you know?
Yeah, that's right. And there, like you said, there's stuff I didn't even know he produced. Like I did I did an article on the site about like 5 Leprechaun movies from the 90s that you don't know about, like the non-horror ones.
Mm-hmm.
And he made the very unlucky Leprechaun in 1998. And
Oh, poor Leprechaun.
and it starred Warwick Davis, who also played the murderous one. But this
That's
one's kind
great.
of more of a fun, family-friendly leprechaun. I had no idea that Warwick Davis was also a nice leprechaun. And it's
Hmm.
a Roger Corman, goofy Roger Corman movie. And we got to check this out. We have to watch this.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the thing. We've already got because we've got a list of overlooked films, and a lot of them are Corman films. Did you ever watch the Fantastic Four movie he did?
Oh, is that one that they didn't even want to release, but they
Yeah.
wanted to keep the rights to the Fantastic Four? So they're like, "Hey, Roger Corman, make this really cheap and make it really fast, so we can just keep the rights to Fantastic Four. We don't even care if you release it or not. It's trash. It's bad.
It is. It's bad, but I like it. It's again, I
I like
like it.
because you like you say it's he's not being something he's not. He's like, I'm a businessman. I make quick, trashy, low budget, super low budget films, and I throw them out there to the world, and I make a little dough off it. That's it. That's what I do.
Yeah, yeah. It's great. I really like the Poe films that he did. So in the
Mm,
mid 60s, he did a bunch of Edgar Allan Poe films. The Raven, the well, just all of them really. And Follow House, yeah. Follow the House of Usher. That's the
for
other one I
sure.
was
Yeah.
thinking of.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that one is actually in the National Film Registry in 2006 for being worthy of entering that. So some of his films might be cheesy crap, but they're also noteworthy cinema. Many of them
Yeah.
starred Boris Karloff, Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, those people of classic horror film fame. The Pit and the Pendulum. I love that one. That one's creeped me out when I watched it when I was a kid. I should not have been up late night watching that film, and I did. And it was like, I don't want to go to sleep now.
Yeah, some of his stuff is actually fair. Like most of it's wonderful trash, but every once in like a couple of them are actually legit.
Yeah.
Especially his earlier ones like in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, totally. Hit the 80s, which is my favorite era. My
Yeah, I
favorite
love
Corman
80s
era is the
Roger Corman.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he peaked there. But he did a film called The Trip in 1967 with Peter Fonda and Jack Nicholson and Dennis Hopper, who later would buddy up for Easy Rider. But I love the story because when he was making the film, he knew that Peter Fonda had done acid in the past. Jack Nicholson, who wrote the script, had dropped acid. Dennis Hopper had dropped acid. So he's like, as a conscientious director, I should drop acid myself. So he like goes out into the desert and does some LSD so that way he can like relate to this film. So what a fun story.
Yeah. Well, and then you do LSD once or twice, and you have the mind to make things like Barbarian Queen 2, The Empress Strikes Back, right? Because your head's all
Yeah.
kind of warped. But he lived a long life. He was what, 98?
98.
So
Man.
he was a healthy guy.
Hmm.
See, kids, LSD is fine.
Yeah, as long as you don't get carried away. But look, Jack Nicholson did LLC, and look at him. He's a super famous actor. Roger Corman made tons of films. Peter Fonda, do LSD,
So
kids.
yeah, so just drop acid, kids, and you'll be famous. All you YouTuber wannabes out there, like you think you want to have that as your job, just drop some acid and
And
you'll
film it.
have the mind for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. He
Some moms are gonna email us. Moms are gonna email us. My kid listened to your episode, started dropping acid.
it's your fault. We're suing.
It's
You're
your
like, all right, go for it. We don't have any money.
go for it. Yeah, good luck.
Great. Have fun
Come and
getting
get
it.
it.
Yep.
We're basically Roger Corman of podcasting, is what we are.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
We don't even have Roger Corman budget for this.
No. We should mention New World Pictures, his studio that he started up. So he decided to take a break from directing. He just kind of got burnt out, but still wanted to keep busy. So he started a company, which was a distribution company. And he did, cheap films like Fantastic Planet and The Arena, but he also imported a lot of foreign films that weren't getting imported to the US as well. So people like Ingmar Bergman, Francis Truffaut, those actually got their films seen in the US because of Roger Corman.
Yeah, that's cool. I just think he's pretty clever. Like he's just very clever because he can do things so quickly and cheaply. So you were talking about The Raven and all of that. So he made the film The Terror over a weekend using actors from
Yep.
sets from The Raven, which he had completed ahead of schedule. So just because he was ahead of schedule and he had some actors and some sets, he just filmed another movie over a weekend. That's crazy.
And I love the story behind it too, because like they didn't really have a script. They just kind of threw it together. And it had Jack Nicholson and I think it was Boris Karloff. And like you said, they had access to the Raven script. And so they're like, well, let's quickly throw it together. But then like they didn't have a set director. So Corman directed a little bit, Jack Nicholson directed a little bit. Like it just kind of was like, let's really half-ass throw this film together. But I like the Raven, or not the Raven,
The Terror.
the Terror. I like the Terror.
Yeah,
I've seen it. It's bad, but it's kind of good. Like I
it's
really
good,
do.
bad.
Yeah.
And I remember I had, for some reason, I had it on VHS or something, like the kind you get from the grocery store claw machine. You
Yeah.
know, it's like one of those, like a VHS, The Terror. I don't know where I got it, but for some reason I had a VHS of The Terror and I liked it. And it's
Yes.
bad, don't get me wrong. It's bad. It's a bad movie, but I could rewatch it.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
that's how I know I like a movie, is if I watch the whole thing and then I know I can rewatch it again. That's how I know I like a movie. And I can rewatch The Terror. It's so bad.
It's so great. Yeah, it is. It's one of those ones you find like in the 99-cent bin at the DVD
Yeah.
store or something like that, or the VHS
At,
store.
yeah, or
The
even
claw
nowadays with
machine.
the claw machine. I think that's where I got it. Along with my got a VHS of like the Three Stooges cartoons and The Terror. I'm like, what is The Terror? And I watched it. I remember I watched it when I was a kid, and I'm like, this is freaking terrible. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
You're like, holy crap, is that Jack Nicholson?
It's the, and Jack Nicholson in this terrible movie. It's so good.
If you had, this is a hard, because I was thinking about this of like trying to pick my favorite Roger Corman film, and I'm like, I don't know if I could. Like, I really liked Death Race 2000. I liked Galaxy of Terror. Uh, oh, have you seen Saturday the 14th?
No, I
It's
haven't seen
fun.
that one.
It's kind of a horror comedy. It's good. It's on. I have it on the list of overlooked movies to watch one of these days. But like, can you think of one like quickly
Like
scanning
a
the list?
favorite, it's like you said,
It's
it's
so
hard to have a
hard.
favorite. But
Yeah.
I do like, so I like his horror, like Chopping Mall is a classic.
Mm.
I like his stupid like fantasy movies like Wizards of the Lost Kingdom. It's so bad. And I love it. And he has a bunch of that from the 80s. The Warrior and the Sorceress, Barbarian Queen. He has I really like those really bad fantasy ones.
Mm.
But I also like his sci-fi ones too, like Space Raiders. And oh, there was another one he did that's kind of a uncredited produced, Fire and Ice, which was kind of an animated fantasy one.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, I think you can see it on Tubi. I suggest watching it. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Sorceress. I just like I really like his sci-fi ones, and I like, but I also like his horror.
Yeah.
Like Galaxy of Terror, that's also kind of sci-fi horror. It's really hard. I don't think I could pick my favorite. I would have to like maybe have a some favorites in each genre he does.
Yeah.
Screwballs and Munchies, it's trash. It's so great.
Yeah. It's I like they mentioned Galaxy of Terror. That's a good one. It stars Robert Englund and Ray Walston. It has both of them in it. It's great. That has the creepiest like girl being raped by an alien tentacle monster scene of like any film, which is
Yeah.
very Roger Corman as well, like complete unnecessary boobs. Like yeah, it's it's that 80s sci-fi horror unnecessary women's breasts.
Yeah, they showed a lot of 80s. I think they finally, it's almost like they got permission to show boobs in non-porn movies and they just went with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barbarian Queen, Oddballs.
The thing is, there's so many here I've never even heard of as
Yeah,
well.
I've seen a lot of them, but I
Hmm.
haven't seen a lot of them as well. And that's the thing. Like now that I'm looking at this list and the sun's finally coming out here in Issaquah for once, because it's we've had this strange January where it's cold and rainy.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, man, this weekend I could go outside, or I could take this list of Roger Corman movies and close all
Yeah.
my curtains and get my popcorn machine out and not leave the house for the whole weekend and not even make a dent in this list.
Oh, yeah. Not even see them all, man. There's so many of them. Even if you tried limiting it to just ones that he directed as well, because I
Hmm.
think he directed what, 60 something movies? Yeah, 56 movies he directed. The last one was in 1990. Yeah, Battle Beyond the Stars. You've mentioned that one already. Good stuff.
Yeah, so I think I want to take this list and just maybe narrow it down to the ones he directed and just kind of like go lock myself in a room and
Yeah,
forget the world, man. I'm gonna hang out with Roger Corman.
yeah. And the thing about him too, like he must have been a great person to work with, and people must have loved him that worked with him because a lot of the people that he mentored and stuff or gave a chance to, they then had him in their films.
Hmm.
Like he
Hmm.
was in Silence of the Lambs and The Godfather Part 2, Apollo 13, because those directors left his film with a certain level of like love for him to say, hey, please come do a cameo in my film. That's how great I think you are. So
Yeah,
that
and
must
it's
say
funny.
something.
Yeah, it does. And he started so many careers. I think people are grateful to
Hmm.
him. And it's funny because these directors and actors would go on to do like really high budget things. You know what I mean?
Apollo 13? Yeah, you know.
Like James Cameron, he lit I mean his movies are the most expensive ones made in their time. He's made a number of the most expensive movies of their time. And
Yeah.
he's from the school of Roger Corman. So I think people probably did really love working with him and probably appreciated that he, helped them start their careers and stuff and mentored them. I think it would have been kind of fun, man. Think about if we were like around if if we were doing something else in the 90s and we were just working with Roger Corman, and that would have been so much fun.
It would have been fun. You know, it would have been. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, he's gone, but man, we will never watch all of his films. There's just so many. So I think
Yeah.
for the rest of my life, at least, I can appreciate his movies, you know,
Yep. Yep.
100%.
Thanks for all the beautiful trash, Roger. The
Yeah,
wonderful schlock you've left us is a gift to the world, bro. We love you, man.
absolutely. Well, folks, why don't you let us know what your favorite Roger Corman film is? You can reach us on the website, the80sandthe90s.com. Leave us a review on whatever podcast player app it is you're listening to us on. And with that, we will say we are out of here. Well, like Jamie said, spend the rest of the weekend watching Roger Corman films. Goodbye.
I'm not even joking.
I could easily do that.
Then
Easily.
my son is like, "Hey, it's a nice day. You're gonna come out now." I'm in the dark watching Roger Corman movies with a bag of popcorn.
Yeah.
Never leave me alone. It's me and Roger. Me and Roger forever.